right? So today we will be discussing object-oriented programming concepts. Last class we've seen installation of Java, setting up path and class path environment variable.
So your voice is very low.
Now,
Yeah, now it's fine, sir.
yeah. So in the last class we have discussed how to install Java and setting up path and class path environment variables, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
we have also discussed like what are the disadvantages in previous programming practices like structured programming, which actually led to development of a new programming concept called as object oriented programming concept. So what
Yes.
are the two major points which we have discussed with respect to disadvantages or issues in structured programming and other programming practices? Do you remember? The one important point was
One is there's no control of data, and the other one is it's not platform independent.
not being platform independent. It is not a issue with programming actually. It's not a problem with the programming concept. It is like a feature which was not there in C and it's available in Java. But the major point was all those programming practices like structured programming, procedural programming, they were more like code centric. Means importance was given to code. So there
Yes.
was no much importance given to data. So they were code centric. And we have also identified like uh, two basic elements of any program are code and data. And which one is more important? Obviously, without any doubt, we can say data is more important. And if you observe programming languages like C, we have seen one example wherein I wanted to share one important variable called as rate of interest with two functions F5 and F7. It was a C program. So I had around 10 functions, out of which only two functions need to share a variable. So that can't be done in C language. The only option was I should make it global. The moment I make it global, it cannot be shared with any other function, right? It in fact it is it is shareable with all functions. So my restriction of sharing the variable with only two functions is not actually possible in C programming or any other structured programming languages. So I am not getting the control on my data. So what exactly we do in object oriented programming is, in object oriented programming our mindset will be different. If I am an object oriented programmer, I will look at a problem something like this. I'll try to understand the problem statement. I try to identify the data involved in it. So what is my data and what operations I am doing on data. So if I can bind them together, if I can put them together, then that is called as a class. So wherein I am trying to get complete control on my data. So this is the reason why we actually moved from structured programming to object oriented programming. We wanted to have more control on data. And
Yes.
did we discuss how Java is platform independent, how it became platform independent?
Yes, sir.
We have discussed, right? Bytecode, all those things.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now today we will discuss object-oriented programming concepts. We'll start. Let me list out the concepts first. As abstraction, encapsulation, so these are major or basic object-oriented programming. So are you aware of all these things like what is a class, what is an object?
So I have not heard of persistence before.
Did not heard about persistence. So you know what is a class?
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate?
So a class is basically where we encapsulate both data and code. It's like blueprint for those objects.
Yes, so class is a place where we define our data and we also define the operations to be performed on the data,
Yes, sir.
right? And class is basically logical, means as such it will not exist. And when you create an object, when you instantiate it, then the memory allocation will be done, right? For example,
Yes,
employee class is there. So I'll define what are the properties of an employee, means what variables will be there. Employee ID, name, salary, department, designation, etc. And what operations we will generally perform on an employee, leave management, salary calculation, performance based bonus. So whatever operations I perform on that data, I write them in some functions. And in Java, we call functions as methods, right?
yes, sir.
So defining all those things in one place is called as class. But when I really create an object, because when I want to store the data, when I want to really process it, I have to create objects. So employee is a class. And suppose if I have 10 employees, 10 objects I should create, right? So
Yes, sir.
how many objects I can create for a class? I can create any number of objects for a class, right? So as you said, as you rightly said, class is a blueprint for creating object. Class is logical, object is physical. Yes,
Yes, sir.
right. So what do you mean by abstraction?
We basically show only the important details and hide the internal details.
Basically, can you repeat?
We show only important details, and all the internal details or the important stuff we hide it.
Okay, so you're hiding something. Abstraction means hiding, right?
Yes, sir.
So what we hide is abstraction means hiding unnecessary implementation details. Hiding unnecessary implementation details from the user is called as abstraction, right? So what do you mean by this? The meaning of this statement is, for example, if we are trying to learn car driving, for example, right? So when we join a driving school, there the trainer will show us like this is accelerator, this is brake, and this is clutch, right? So
Yes,
if
sir.
you apply brake, the vehicle will stop. This much information is enough for us to stop a vehicle, right? You apply brake, the vehicle will stop, and that is enough. But is it really required to understand, to know the technology behind it? Like if I'm pressing a brake, so what kind of braking system the car uses? Is it hydraulic brake or disc brake or drum brake? And if it is hydraulic brake, how it will work? Do I need to know all these things to drive a car?
No, sir.
Not required, right? So when I'm learning car driving, I'm the end user, right? I am the user, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm not a mechanical engineer who was involved in the development of that car. I am a final end user of the product. So as a end user, what I feel is, as long as my job is done, I am least bothered about the internal implementation details, right? So that's the reason if you read this statement again, hiding unnecessary, what details? Unnecessary implementation details, right? So if
Yes.
you are pressing the brake and vehicle stops, that is enough for us. Internally, how that technology works, what technology is being used, I am least bothered, because I am end user, right? I am not a car manufacturer, I am not a design engineer, I am end user. Similarly, Similarly, in our object-oriented programming concepts, if we are developing a software project using any of the object-oriented programming language, what we suggest is we try to give abstraction. Abstraction means we try to hide unnecessary implementation details from the user. So here, generally, what will happen is in colleges, what will happen in your lab is you are the developer and you are the user of the program. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Till now, did you write any program or a software for someone else?
No, sir.
You have written a software which is being used by a kirana store nearby your home. right?
Yes,
It
sir.
was not done. Means till now, whatever programs we have done in our labs, we were the developers and we were the users.
Yes, sir.
Right? But in real time, what will happen? You will have a project development team, and they develop the project for a client. Client will have users. Client in client's company, a lot of users will be there. So here the idea of abstraction is we should hide unnecessary implementation details from the user. So how do I relate it to my object oriented programming? I can't use this car driving example in my answer or in my interview, right? So what I do is, suppose I have a class, right? Or maybe not writing the complete code, own class, own class. Imagine the function. There is a function called as find underscore eligibility, or you can say method, right? So there is a method in the loan class called as find underscore eligibility. So what I'm saying is, if I have developed a project for a bank, now I'll become the developer and the bank will become the client. And in the bank there will be so many people who will be using my software. For example, there is a person sitting in the bank who is using my software. He is the user. I am the developer. So what I'll do is I'll develop a beautiful front end user interface for my client, and I'll provide some buttons. So what my client will do, right? If some customer approaches my client and he says, sir, am I eligible for a loan or not? So he will fill in some details, basic details of the customer. He will click on a button called as find eligibility, right? You're following
Yes.
me?
Yes, sir.
So what I am saying to my client is, you just click on this button called as find eligibility. Internally, some code will run and it will tell whether the customer is eligible for a loan or not. Now, as a end user of my project, you need not understand what will happen when you click on that find eligibility button. How much code I have written, what code I have written. It is not at all required for the end user. As long as the code is working, as long as his requirement is fulfilled, he is clicking the button, he is getting the result. So and so person is eligible for loan. So and so person is not eligible for loan. Like that, he is getting the information. So as long as the project is working, code is working properly, the end user is least bothered about the implementation details. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That is what is abstraction. And how do I provide abstraction? Again, by writing a class. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And encapsulation means binding, data binding. Means what is my data I should identify. What operations I am performing I should identify. And if I put them together in one place, that is called as encapsulation or data binding. Again, it is achieved using class only. Right?
Yes, sir.
Where do I bind variables and methods together? In a class.
Yes, sir.
How do I achieve abstraction? Means using a class. How do I achieve or how do I implement encapsulation? Again, using a class. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now there is one important point. We will come back to that topic again, but as of now, since we came across this one, let me tell you. Suppose I'm writing a class, right? When I'm talking about encapsulation feature, I will define my variables here, my data, right? So I'll define my data, which is nothing but variables. Then I'll write my functions, right? Which is nothing methods, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the purpose of encapsulation is, we were facing a problem in C language, right? I was unable to share one variable between two functions. There was
Yes,
no
sir.
other option apart from rather than making the variables global, right?
Yes, sir.
But making it global was not my interest. My interest was to share it between only two functions. The moment I make it global, all 10 functions can access the rate of interest variable, and I don't know what is happening to that variable since everyone is able to access.
Yes, sir.
So that was one major problem why we moved from non-object oriented languages to object oriented languages. So if you are solving that problem using class, and if you are binding your data and methods together using a class, which we call it as encapsulation, please remember the purpose of encapsulation is very simple. No outsider should access your data directly. Got the point? From
Yes, yes, sir.
outside the class, no one should access your data directly. If that is possible, then I say encapsulation is done properly.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do I ensure that no outsider can touch my data directly? That is possible. That is possible only when your variables are declared to be private. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
So many people, what they do is they define some variables in the class, they write some methods, and they think that I have done encapsulation, data binding is done perfectly. No. If your variable is not private, if it is not declared to be private, then there is a scope like from outside the class also your variable can be accessed, right?
Yes,
If that happens, then what is the difference between the problem which we have seen in C language and what is the benefit of using an object oriented programming language? If an outsider can touch my data directly, then again I land into the same problem of not having control on my data. Yes or no?
yes, sir.
So please remember, make a habit of declaring all your variables as private, right? Now you may ask, sir, during inheritance, will it create a problem? No, it will not create any problem, and we will discuss that when we talk about inheritance. But as of now, the thumb rule is all your variables must be declared private. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So if the variables are declared private and if you provide access to those variables via your method, right? So making our variable as private and operations on that variable are done by your own method. So if someone wants to access your data, it should be done via your method. So what will happen whether it is the owner of the class or someone else, whoever is accessing my data, they should access my data only via my methods. So what will happen now? Which code will run on my data? Code written by me. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So what will happen? I will have complete control on my data. So this data should be made private. This is the point to be noted. It should be always private. Without any second thought, please keep this in your mind that it should be always private, right? And for every data member, you should provide methods, right? You should provide methods for all data members. You should provide methods. So what will happen is now there is code which is going to operate on that data, but that code was written by you. So at any point of time, whoever is trying to access the data, what they will do at the max, they have to run your method only. So what code you have decided, what code you have uh, permitted to run on the data, only that code is going to run. So you will have complete control on data. And if it is not declared private, always there is a chance that without your knowledge, I can even access your data.
Yes, sir.
So if the variable is private, then only encapsulation is really fulfilled. Otherwise, it is not correct. Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine. Inheritance. Your idea on inheritance.
Uh, Basically, one subclass will inherit the features of some existing class.
Okay. What is the purpose of inheritance?
We just get to reuse the code because those methods are already there in the base class, so there's no point of like defining it again. Or yeah, so for that.
Inheritance one or one or more. Inheritance is one class acquiring properties from one or more classes.
Yes, sir.
Of inheritance, ability. Of inheritance. Now, there is an interesting point. Right? Types of inheritance, as I before. Please tell me what is proper inheritance. Proper inheritance. Are you aware of it? You heard this anytime?
No, sir.
Yeah.
I have not heard of this, sir.
So you're not aware of it. Fine. So proper inheritance means an inheritance which you are, see what will happen generally in your coding part is, as long as the syntax is correct, compiler will not say anything, right?
Yes, sir.
Suppose you have two classes, you have one class called as class A, right? And class B is inheriting properties from class A. In fact, B has nothing to get, what you say, B has nothing to do with A. There is no useful resource inside A which can be used by B. Still, class B can go for inheritance because as long as syntax is correct, compiler will not say anything.
Yes, sir.
Got it? But that is not meaningful, right?
Yes, sir.
Something like this, right? Class, how you inherit, right? Yes or no? The syntax
Yes, sir.
class B extends class A. Now suppose there is nothing useful in class A for me. Class B has nothing useful content in class A, but still this syntax will work. As long as syntax is correct, compiler will not say anything. But that is not the way we inherit. There should be a meaning in inheritance, and the inheritance should be proper. So inheritance is said to be proper inheritance. Proper if and only if and only if it holds substitutability property. If it holds something called as substitutability, this is very important. Right? It holds what? Substitutability. Got the point. So what is substitutability? Ability. What do you mean by substitutability? Means, for example, there is a real-time project, sir. Okay. There are maybe 100 classes written in that project. It's a real-time project, and there is a class by name class A. Okay. There's a class by name class A. If class A was used in 10 places in that project, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh, class A is being used in 10 different places in the entire project. Okay. If I replace class A with its child class, let us say class B, right? In the real time project, class A was used in 10 different places. And if I replace that class A with its child class B, still the project should work without any problem.
Okay, sir.
If that happens, then we call it as substitutability. And such inheritance is said to be proper inheritance. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And one more method of checking for substitutability is you should search for a relationship called as is a relationship. So inheritance is said to be proper inheritance if it holds a property called as substitutability, or you would find something called as is a relationship, right? What relationship?
Is
Is
a
a
relationship.
relationship, right?
Okay.
Fine. So what do you mean by is a relationship? Means something like this. Please observe here. I have written a class called as class animal. So what kind of properties will come for a class animal? Properties are nothing but variables, right? So how many legs, ears, eyes, these all things will become properties, right? Variables. What are the operations or methods that will come under class animal? What animals will do? Every animal, they eat, they sleep, they move, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
what kind of data I'll get, like number of legs, of eyes, etc., etc. I'll get some data items. These are variables. Coming to methods, right? Something like this: void, eat. In that, I have to define, like for animal to animal, what it will eat, how it will eat. All those things will come into picture. Code: void, eat, void, sleep, move, etc., etc. Now these are all properties and methods or operations, you can say, that can be performed on the data. This is my class animal, right? Now
Yes, sir.
see here, I want to write a class called as class dog, right? Now you please tell, do you find is a relationship between dog and animal?
Yes, sir.
Dog is a animal. Yes,
Yes, sir.
true. Dog is a animal. So there is a relationship, right? So if you can establish or if you can find is a relationship between child class and parent class, then most likely that inheritance will be proper inheritance. See here,
Okay,
by
sir.
looking at this, we can tell all variables can be reused because even dog will have all these properties.
Yes,
All
sir.
methods are also reusable because every dog will also eat, sleep, and move. Now, whatever is extra, whatever is specific to dog, only those things will come here. What is the specific feature of a dog? Dog will bark, right?
Yes, sir.
Related to this operation, this code probably I'll write on my own. Rest all can be inherited from animal class.
Yes,
Yes
sir.
or no? So inheritance is said to be proper if there exists is a relationship between child and parent class, right? Till this point, are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. For example, right, B is child of. So similarly, class C. Now, if I look at this class hierarchy from top to bottom, what do you notice? What will happen if we travel from top to bottom? And give
These
me
are
the
all different classes, sir.
inheritance. A is child of A, C is child of. I'll write like this. C is one class. Dog child class of dog. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Dog is child class of animal. German Shepherd is child class of a dog. Now, what is the super class?
For dog, it's animal.
Ah, animal is the super class. Animal's child is dog. Dog's child class is
German Shepherd.
right. Now, what I am asking is if I try to look at this hierarchy from top to bottom, if I'm coming from top to bottom, what is happening when I am at topmost class from animal to dog? If I come to dog from animal, something specific to dog, that features will be added, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, every dog is an animal, right? Every dog is an
Yes.
animal. And every German Shepherd is a dog. There is no doubt in that.
Yes, sir.
But why specifically again one more child class I have created? Because dog, all dog, there are varieties of breeds of dogs, but German Shepherd is one breed. It has some specific features, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So German Shepherd, every German Shepherd is a dog, but every dog is not German Shepherd, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So if I move from dog to German Shepherd, I am talking about something specific to German Shepherd. Yes or no? So
Yes, sir.
when I'm at animal, right? From animal to dog, if I come down, I am talking something specific to dog. And when I further come down, I am talking something specific to German Shepherd. If you observe, if I am coming from top to bottom, I am moving from generalization to specialization.
Yes, sir.
Specific things are coming, right? When I move to bottom, when I am moving in the direction of child classes, I am talking something specific about that child, right?
Yes, sir.
So generalization to specialization is the journey if I move from top to bottom. Similarly, reverse, bottom to top. If I am moving from bottom to top, when I am at bottom class German Shepherd, I am specifically talking about German Shepherd. When I
Yes, sir.
move to dog, I'm little bit generic. I'm little bit generic, right? I'm talking about all dogs.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, when I move further, now I'm not talking only about dogs, rather I am talking about all animals. So if
Yes,
I
sir.
move from bottom to top, I am becoming more generic.
Yes, sir.
And if I'm coming from top to bottom, I am becoming more specific. So this hierarchy is called as generalization to specialization, top to bottom, and bottom to top is specialization to generalization, right?
Yes, sir.
Till this point, are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now coming to types of inheritance, you tell me how many types of inheritance we have.
Five hours, sir.
Are they? Single inheritance, multiple inheritance,
Multi-level,
right?
hybrid, and hierarchy.
Right. All these are the words, terms used by local authors, right?
Okay. Yes.
Inheritance is basically, it is of only two types. As per the definition, what was the definition we have written? If a class is acquiring properties, inheritance means a class acquiring properties from one or more classes, one or more. So if it is acquiring in properties from only one class, it is single. If it is acquiring properties from more than one class, it is multiple inheritance. That's all.
Yes, sir.
There is nothing called as multi-level, all those things. We will observe that now. So what is single inheritance? Inheritance means something like this. As A kind of A. And in multiple inheritance can be more than one. So suppose something like this. I have A Not be 2 or 3, it can be more than that also, more than 1. As in B is the child class. So can you observe this one, sir? In single inheritance, I am acquiring class B is acquiring properties from class
Classy.
A. Means when a class is acquiring properties from a single class, it is called as single inheritance.
Yes,
If the
sir.
class is acquiring properties from more than one class, it is called as multiple inheritance. Rest all are created by combining these two only, and they are all meaningless, right? I am very clearly telling you these are the only two types, rest all meaningless, right? And I'll also tell you why it is meaningless. Observe this. As per your definition only, said, sir, A this you call it as multi-level, right?
Yes, sir.
A acquired properties from B, B acquired properties from C, right? If you have this kind of hierarchy more than single, then you call it as multi-level, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But if you observe, there is nothing called as multi-level, sir. Is call this one as multi-level. Wrong, wrong, absolutely wrong. The reason why this is absolutely wrong is here, same diagram, same multi-level. What this one is called as B and C. Only two classes are there. B is parent, C is child. What type of inheritance it is?
Single inheritance.
It is single inheritance, right?
Yes, sir.
But you may not be aware, B might have already acquired properties from some other class. Will you get
Okay.
all those
Yes, sir.
properties or not? Got the point? What I am trying to say is this one is very much same as this one,
Yes, sir.
because see here, B has already got properties from A, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now all the properties of A are already present in B. Now if I am acquiring
Yes, sir.
some properties from B, what I will get? Will I get properties from B as well as A separately? All properties of B will come to C or not? Please observe, don't get confused. So this is what you are saying, sir, it is multi-level inheritance. And what I am saying is that is wrong. What I am saying is that is wrong. The reason why I am saying this is wrong is, see this diagram again. This is only single inheritance. As per inheritance definition, all properties of B will be acquired in class C, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
B might have already got properties from class A. You are not aware of it, and you need not be aware of it also. The reason is B might have got properties from A, sir. Now it is no more it is not called as B has some properties from A, all those things. What you will simply say is all properties acquired in B are B's properties now, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now for me as a child class, what I understand is whatever is available in B, that is acquired by me,
Yes, sir.
yes or no? So it is single inheritance only.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Suppose in this diagram you are able to see three. But who knows, on top of A there is one more class, you are not even aware of it,
Yes,
right?
sir.
If someone says A, B, C, D, there is a chain kind of thing, that is wrong. The last ultimate child class and penultimate class, the last and last but one, only these two are important. On top of my parent class, on top of my parent, there may be 10 classes or 20 classes. I am least bothered because my parent has already acquired all of them. Yes or no?
Yes.
And whatever is available with my parent, everything is acquired by me. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Right? Whatever properties are with your father, all those properties you own it. You feel like they are all my properties. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
In that, how much percentage of how much percentage of properties your father has earned, and how much percentage of properties he has got from his father, right?
Yes, sir.
And how much percentage of properties he has got from his grandfather, all those things are immaterial for you. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Because now all of them belong to your dad, and your dad properties are acquired by you. That's all.
Yes, sir.
So that is the whole concept of multi-level inheritance, or sorry, single inheritance. And as such, there is nothing called as multi-level inheritance. Even in Java, this is what is happening. Child class will acquire properties of super class, and child class can't even differentiate like 30% properties I got from B, another 30 I got from A, another 30 I got from super class of A. All these things are not known to this child class C.
Yes, sir.
So when child class is not aware of existence of A, then there is no meaning in calling like on top of C there is B, on top of B there is A, on top of A. That's the point. C can
Yes, sir.
only observe his properties, and C says whatever properties of B are there, I inherited it. So C in real also, C class C does not know what properties B has got from his parent. Got the point? So in that connection, in that direction, there is no concept of multi-level inheritance. It is single only. C is acquiring properties from B. C will get all properties of B. I don't know whether B has earned it or B has acquired it from someone else. I'm least bothered. So that's the reason your multi-level is nothing but a repeated application of single inheritance. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And if you do some permutations and combinations, all other remaining three, you will get it. Basically, as per definition, there are only two types. If you are acquiring from one class, it is single. If you are acquiring properties from more than one class, it is multi, right?
Yes.
And in multiple inheritance, there is a problem, right? Do you know what is the problem?
Sir, your voice is low again.
In multiple inheritance, there is a problem, right?
Yeah, in Java it doesn't support multiple inheritance unless we use interfaces.
Not supporting is not a problem, right?
Yes, sir.
Java does not support. It doesn't mean that it's a problem.
Yes, sir.
There, there, there
Oh,
is a problem. That's the reason intentionally it was removed in Java.
yes, sir.
So what is that problem?
So if in this example, if A, B, and C all have like a same method, then
Yeah.
D it's like an ambiguity. It can't decide which one to take.
Yes, yes. Not just method. No, a method will not create a problem. Problem will come mostly with the data.
Okay, sir.
So if you observe that multiple inheritance, what you say, example of ABCD classes, class A, class B, class C are nowhere related.
Yes, sir.
They are three different classes.
Yes, sir.
And D is acquiring properties from A, B, and C. So
Yes.
suppose class A contains a variable called as integer x. X is a variable of type integer. Okay.
Yes.
And class B contains a variable again with the same name x, but its data type is double. It can
Okay.
happen, right?
Yes, sir.
Because class A and B are nowhere related, maybe two different people have written it.
Yes, sir.
Now, when D is acquiring properties from A, B, and C, what should be the situation of X in class D? Shall I treat that X as integer or double? Got the point?
Yes, sir.
What will happen? It leads to confusion or ambiguity. It is something like this. You have one int X and you have double X. Can I declare two variables with the same name within the same class?
No, sir.
I can't. And when I do inheritance, and if it is multiple inheritance, there is a chance like this can happen. So
Yes, sir.
class A has got an X variable. I inherited it. So I acquired it. And B has got double X. Even I have acquired it. So now the situation is, what is the status of X variable in my class D? Whether it is integer or double, I don't know. There's a confusion, which is called as ambiguity. And hence, it is recommended not to go for multiple inheritance. To the possible extent, you should avoid it.
Yes, sir.
So in C++, it was there. C++ came before Java, and in C++, they gave multiple inheritance, and which led to a lot of problems. Then Java came after C++, right?
Yes, sir.
C++ came somewhere in 1980s, and Java was released in the year 1995. So what they have done is, whatever problems were found in previous object-oriented programming language like C++, they either solved those problems or simply removed those features to avoid such problems. So multiple inheritance problem with multiple inheritance is it may lead to ambiguity. Since it's a problem, it was intentionally not provided as a facility in Java. Directly, it is not allowed.
Yes, sir.
And it is recommended not to use multiple inheritance to the possible extent.
Yes, sir.
So are we clear till this point?
Yes, sir.
What is polymorphism?
But sir, how did they solve it with interfaces then?
Solution, sir. We are not solving the problem. See, when multiple inheritance was removed, means like this you can't write in Java now. Class A and C. This is not allowed in Java. Means
Yes,
more
sir.
than one class you can't inherit. So remember, using interfaces, we are not solving the problem of multiple inheritance. This is
Okay.
a wrong assumption. Like multiple inheritance, there is a problem. Using interfaces, it is solved. No, that is absolutely wrong. Multiple
Okay.
inheritance can lead to confusion. For example, in class B and C, there is no overlapping data. There is no such problem like the one which we have seen just now. In that case, the multiple inheritance will not create any ambiguity. I'm not saying multiple inheritance will always create ambiguity.
Yes, sir.
Suppose class B and class C are totally different and nothing is there in common, there are no overlapping variables, then multiple inheritance will not create any problem.
Yes, sir.
But since there is a chance that multiple inheritance can lead to ambiguity, in Java, multiple inheritance feature was not provided.
Okay, sir.
Now people will argue, right? People will say, okay, multiple inheritance leads to ambiguity, so you have not provided that feature. Well and good, but multiple inheritance will not create ambiguity every time, right?
Yes, sir.
And I may need to inherit from more than one class, so there should be some way of doing it. So for that argument, for that question, they should give a solution. So what they have done is, they have provided an alternate method, which is using interface concept, which we will discuss and implement also, right?
Okay.
So using interfaces, I am not solving the problem of multiple inheritance. So you should be very clear on that.
Yes, sir.
Multiple inheritance is directly not supported, and if you want to still go for multiple inheritance using interface, it can be done in an indirect way.
Okay, sir.
But problem of ambiguity will remain, and it will not come every time. If there are overlapping data items with different data types, then the problem will definitely come. Okay,
Okay.
right. So are you clear with this one, multiple inheritance
Yes, sir.
concept? Is there any ambiguity?
No, sir.
You are clear with this one?
Yes, sir.
Polymorphism. What do you
Yes.
mean polymorphism? Polymorphism. Any idea?
Basically, the same task will be done in different. I mean, a same method. The same method name can do various tasks,
Any
or the
forms?
same task in different ways.
Right. Polymorphism means, if I am writing it, polymorphism, any object which exhibit multiple behavior is said to be polymorphic. Any object which exhibits multiple behavior is said to be polymorphic. What do you mean by this? What is the understanding of this statement? Any object which exhibit multiple behavior is said to be polymorphic. Right? If you remember, in Java, there are two places where you talk about polymorphism. One is overloading. Another one is
Variety.
overriding. Unfortunately, many people think that the moment I say polymorphism, people think these are the only two things where you find polymorphism, right?
Yes, sir.
But the definition is very clear. Any object which exhibit multiple behavior is said to be polymorphic, right? So what do you mean by this statement is, for example, uh, what is polymorphism means, uh, in one movie we have seen, right? I don't know whether you see movie. Do you watch movies?
Yes, sir.
Right. There was one movie called as Aparichitudu, released long back. I don't know, maybe 10 years back. Right. Have you seen that?
No, sir.
Right. So no issue, not required. So in that movie, there will be a person, the hero Vikram of that movie. So what that split personality example it is. So what will happen is, when that hero finds something, what you say, illegal, or some corruption in the society, all of the sudden, without any knowledge, without his knowledge, his behavior will change. He will become very, very wild and violent, right? So in that movie, when he goes to a temple, he will be quite normal, quite natural, very, very polite, very humble. But all of the sudden, when he sees some corruption or some illegal activity, someone taking bribe, all of the sudden his behavior will change. He will become very wild and violent. So depending on the type of input, if the behavior of the object changes, then we say that object is polymorphic.
Okay, sir.
Right? And in Java, there are two places where you can see this, right? One is called as overloading, another one is called as overriding. Okay. When should I go for overloading? When should I go for overloading? In interviews, this question will be asked. Like, many people will say, what is polymorphism? Immediately people will say, sir, overloading and overriding. Right? They will also tell what is overloading, what is overriding. But the problem is, when someone is asking you a question, when you should overload, when you should go for overriding, right? So that's the important. That is what is the fundamental concept, right? So you should know when to apply a concept, when to use it. So do
Yes,
you
sir.
know what is overloading?
Basically, we'll have the same function name, but either its parameters or the return type will be different. We're performing the same thing, only thing the parameters or return type will be different.
Right. So generally it happens within same class. Point number one.
Yes, sir.
Right. I have a class called as class X. In that there is a method called as add, which was repeated 3 times. Add, which will take two integers as parameters. Add, which is taking three complex numbers as parameters. Add, which is taking two floating point numbers as parameters. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So what that add is doing basically, it is doing addition, right?
Yes, sir.
So when should I go for overloading? This is the point, and the answer is very simple. When we want to repeat same operation on different data. This is what you have done actually in that overloading program,
Yes, sir.
right? You only said, sir, parameters will change. What parameters? One add function was taking integers, it was doing integer addition. One add function was taking complex numbers, it was doing complex number addition. One add function was taking floating point numbers and it was doing floating point addition. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So the operation performed was addition only. So the operation performed is same. We want to do the same operation but on different data. Then I go for overloading. Got the point? Then when do I go for overriding?
When we have different classes, like during inheritance, we use overriding. So it's the same method, we're just overriding it in the base class, I mean the subclass.
Why do you override? And first point in overriding means always it happens only in inheritance, right?
Yes,
It
sir.
happens only in inheritance. So overriding. So when do I go for overriding? Means see there is a super class. In super class, let us assume there are four methods M1, M2, M3, M4. Since there is something useful for me, that's the reason I have inherited it. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So imagine M1, M2, M3, these three methods are useful for me. But in M4, the code which was written for M4 is not suitable for my requirement. And in that case, I want to provide my own code for M4. Got the point?
Yes,
So
sir.
in superclass, there are four methods M1, M2, M3, M4. M1, M2, M3 are straight away useful for me, so I will reuse it. That's the reason I'm inheriting. M4, the code provided by superclass, operation performed by M4 does not suit my requirement. So what I will do, I will override and I will provide my own code inside overridden method of the child class. Got the point? So it will look like this. Class A, class A, there are four methods M1, M2, M3, M4. M4, you have provided some code, but I am not, that M4 code is not useful for me. So I'll write class B extends A. What I will do, M1, M2, M3 are as usual useful for me. So I don't write code for them again. But for M4, here I will write my own, I will provide my own implementation. This is called as overriding. Okay. So when the operation to be performed is different, then I will override. Whereas in overloading, operation remains same. Yes or no? Are you there, Navya? Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Connection. No.
Okay, are you there?
Yeah. So I lost connection like 2 minutes back.
Yeah, no issue. So can you see this one? I think my screen sharing has been. Yeah, I'll share my screen again. Yeah, fine. I think you are able to see the screen
No, sir. Yeah, now
now.
I can see.
Yeah. So what happens in overriding? In super class, I have four methods: M1, M2, M3, and M4. M1, M2, M3 are straight away useful for me, so I don't have any problem in straight away using them. Whereas in M4, the code written by superclass is not suitable for me. So what I can do, I can provide my own implementation, right?
Yes, sir.
So then we call this one as overriding, right? So see, no one will write complete code for me. They, they will write code for their requirement, right? So if something is useful for me, I'm very happy and I'll try to use it. And if some code which is not so which is not suitable to my requirement, I try to rewrite it. So at least M1, M2, M3 are reusable. I'm happy. M4's code is not suiting my requirement. It is not applicable to my requirement. I will provide my own implementation, right? So in the child class, if we provide our own implementation for a method, then we call it as overriding. Okay, got the point? Understood? Again, there is a technical issue, it seems. Yeah,
Yeah. So can you
it-
repeat from where do we use overriding?
yeah, I'll repeat. The screen is shared, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. See, overriding comes into picture only during inheritance. Okay. And overriding will come into picture when some of the superclass methods, one or more superclass methods are the code provided in superclass methods are not suitable for my requirement. So what I will do, I will accordingly rewrite in my child class. So in this example, imagine there are four methods in class A, M1, M2, M3, M4. M1, M2, M3 code provided in class A is very much suitable for my requirement. So I'm happy and I'll reuse them. But code for M4 was written in class A for a different purpose, and maybe in class B. In my class, it is not suitable for my requirement. So at least for M4, I will provide code. So I will rewrite M4 again, providing my own implementation. So when I rewrite superclass method in the child class to provide my own implementation, then it is called as overriding.
Yes, sir.
Got it? So if you
Yes.
observe overriding and overloading, in overloading operation remains the same. Code remains the same, but it is same operation performed on different data.
Yes, sir.
Whereas in overriding, operation will change. Code provided by superclass method is not perfectly suitable for you. So you make some changes to it. You provide your own implementation in the child class. So that is called as overriding. Got it? Fine. Is it clear? Overriding is clear, Navya?
Yes, sir.
Right. So one last point, one last object-oriented programming concept, and in the next class we will talk about architecture of JVM. So what is the last point in one last point of today's class is persistence. So what do you
Yes,
mean
sir.
by persistence? Persistence means permanent storage of object state. Objects are created, right? In Java, you know how to create an object. I hope you are aware of it. Right? How do I
Yes, sir.
create objects in Java? Something like this, right? MPE is equal to new EMP, right? This is how we create objects, right? This is how we create object. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Where the objects are created, object creation means memory allocation has to be done. Where it is done, where objects are created, memory allocation has to be done, right?
Yes, sir.
So where memory allocation is done?
It has to be done in the main memory.
Absolutely right. It should be done in main memory. What is main memory? It is volatile, right? You have studied
Yes.
computer organization.
Yes, sir.
Volatile. Volatile means what? As long as the power is turned on, content in the main memory will be available. Once the power is turned off, everything in the RAM or main memory will become zero, right? Everything is lost. Am I correct? Yes. RAM is volatile, right? Main memory is volatile.
Yes, sir.
Volatile means what? As long as the power is turned on, content in the memory will be available. Once you turn off your computer, everything in the main memory or RAM is lost. That's the
Yes, sir.
reason even operating system is loaded every time when you start the computer. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now what persistence says is, see, you have created one object. Object got created inside main memory in a place called as heap. Of course, it is part of main memory only. Now you know very well, like when you turn off the computer, that object which you have created will be lost. Now,
Yes,
is
sir.
there any facility to store that state of an object, which we call it as instance, right? Current state of an object. Can I save the current state of an object onto permanent storage devices? Can I save the current state of an object in permanent storage devices like hard disk?
Okay.
If it can be done, then we say persistence is available or
Okay.
persistence feature is supported by so and so language. So what is persistence? If I can save the status of an object into permanent storage devices, then we call, well, then that feature is called as persistence. In Java, persistence facility is also there, and it is implemented in Java using a concept called as serialization. You heard about
Yes,
serialization?
yes, sir.
Yes, you have implemented serialization.
No, sir.
We will do it,
Okay.
right? So list of object oriented programming concepts: class, object, abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, and persistence. Are we clear with this one?
Yes, sir.
So tomorrow we will talk about architecture of JVM. Then slowly we start implementing all these concepts one by one.
Okay,
Now,
sir.
till now, if you have any doubts, please let me know.
No doubt, sir.
No doubts. You're following or not?
Following, sir.
No doubts means it can occur only in two cases. Either you understood everything or nothing. What is your state? You're following or not?
Following, sir.
Am I going little fast or is it fine? This pace is fine or shall we increase or decrease the pace? I think again there is a connection issue. Yeah, Navya, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is it fine? You are following the concepts,
Yes, sir.
right? Am I going little fast or is it fine?
No, sir. It's fine.
Okay, Navya. So in the next class, we will talk about architecture of JVM. Please try to note these points, whatever important points are coming on your way. Please try to note them in a book, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, Navya. Then we'll meet in next class. We'll discuss about architecture of JVM, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.